Welcome to All Set for Sunday, a podcast for busy and distracted Catholics to be a little more prepared for Sunday Mass. My name is Scott Williams. My co-host is Jeff Traylor. What's up, Jeff?
Not much, man. I just thought of a dumb question. If you ever see me,
write it down.
Yeah, if anyone ever sees me making notes during the podcast, it's just because that's when I think of my dumb questions. Is when I'm in the presence of greatness, my brain just melts.
Speaking of greatness, Father
Yep.
Dufresne, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I always get nervous when Jeff starts writing during the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I'm writing a dumb question.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I going to answer?
Like, oh no, this is probably going to be a really challenging question.
Probably.
There are no easy questions here.
What? There's some easy
Only
questions.
easy guesses. No.
What's been the best part of your day?
Well, there was Mass, so
Mass doesn't count.
got to see Jesus, which is awesome.
Can't
I
count
had lunch with Archbishop Thompson and several of my brother priests today. And that was really, really good. It's an awesome conversation.
What was it like an informal, hey, Archbishop, let's have lunch together?
lunch.
No. So
Was there an agenda involved?
no, there was no agenda, but just a chance to gather with Archbishop. I think it's awesome because he has so many things to do, right? But
Yeah.
he got together with us.
And I don't mean agenda in a negative way. I meant like, was there a list of things that you guys were gonna talk through?
No, just
That's great.
just conversation. Yeah.
Was there like anything specific behind the group of priests who gathered, or
No,
was it
we
kind
just
of a random?
signed up for the dates that you can
Oh.
make it.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't like all the priests, but
Mhm.
over
So-
time, I think he's
So he's
had
just got
with
like
all
some
of us.
dates out there, and he's like, "Hey, I want to have lunch with people. Who wants to sign up?"
Pizza with
Yeah.
the principal.
Can you? Yeah, I was going to say it. Could you? How do we get access to that list of dates, and how can Scott and I sign up? Because I think it'd be really awesome.
Or just eat an adjacent area to this lunch.
Oh my gosh, you guys are here. Weird.
I don't know. I think you're in touch with Archbishop's assistant, so you could probably
We could probably convince.
talk to her.
Potentially. How many where was the lunch at? Was it at like a place? Or was it at like the Catholic Center?
No, it's at the Archbishop's residence.
Oh, at the
Yeah,
residence.
yeah.
Lovely. How many people
So we
drove?
have to just like tailgate in the driveway.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't work as
I've
well.
already said too much.
How many people that
give us
came to
the
this
address.
lunch drove black cars?
One.
I was gonna say I know of
Two.
one that was there that didn't.
I think there were only two, maybe three.
Okay. How many were Toyotas?
Oh,
I feel like that's a big priest car, Toyotas.
yeah, there was definitely a RAV4,
Typical.
definitely a Tacoma.
A Camry was there.
There was a Camry there.
Father Peter was there.
I drive a Ford, so there was,
That's
I think
right.
there were only three.
F-150.
Toyotas.
Oh,
That's not how I typically say it, but
that's what I've heard you say
F-150.
in a homily.
you need to check your sources.
In a homily.
Is it a crew cab?
It is not.
Ah.
It's an extended cab.
Extended cab. Super cab.
XT.
Super cab. Yep,
That's good. I had a super cab. Does the door open backwards?
it does.
Yeah, those are the best. For no particular reason.
Is the seat sideways? Remember like the little Ford Rangers that had the little sideways
Those are my
seat?
favorite.
Oh yeah,
My buddy Kaz had one.
I still want a Ford
The
Ranger.
seat where you feel like you're not supposed to be able to sit in it.
Yeah, it's like a jump seat in an airplane. Like
I mean,
this.
I'm not able to sit in that seat. I've never sat in one, but I've seen them.
You're like, am I gonna have to parachute out of this truck?
Yeah.
Or-
Exactly. Go,
Exactly.
go, go.
I think I'd rather ride in the bed of the truck than in the jump seat.
That'd be more fun. All right.
Don't do that at home, kids.
Ready for the 2-minute drill, Jeff?
I am. It is confirming, and I double checked, the 5th Sunday in Ordinary Time. That's what we're doing. Father was just mentioning that he listened to my episode with the Archbishop, which I won't live down, I'm sure. Before we get started, should we say hello to Mrs. Dufresne,
Oh.
one of our loyal guests?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. You're probably watching this.
Yeah.
Good to
Love you
have-
guys.
Good
Hi
to have
guys.
you,
You
Mr.
guys are the
Dufresne.
best. We appreciate you. What?
No,
Now go ahead. Go to night. Go to sleep,
No.
Mrs. Dufresne. We know you're struggling to sleep, and that's why you're listening.
we went to a birthday party with Father Andy Seiberg's sister, Carrie, and Father Andy was there. But when we were welcomed in, she said, "Hi, thanks for come on in. You know that bald idiot over there."
Oh my gosh.
Wait, his sister said that or his parents?
His sister said that, but then we got into the conversation about parenting and podcasts and
Yeah.
their parents that listen to the podcast. Anyway, sorry. That's why I was giggling. Back to the Borophyll.
More like Bora. All right. 2-minute drill. Fifth Sunday in Ordinary Time. Our first reading comes from Job 7, 1-4, 6-7. Anyway, Job's like, hey, listen, life is a tough gig. All right. I feel like Job is like, this whole thing feels like a weird plot of a sitcom where Job's just like, I can't figure this out. Things are so weird. Why are we in like kind of hippie-ish and like, why are we stuck in this cosmic tale that's twisting us all over the place? But remembers that, like, I mean, even at the end, he says, remember that my life is like the wind. So turns out Job was a hippie, but he's just kind of pointing out this like crazy world that he's living in and how he is drawn the woe is me drama that he's experiencing, seeking the Lord. Responsorial Psalm, praise the Lord who heals the brokenhearted.
Not a banger.
Not a banger. I don't know if it's a full mumbler. We'll see. I don't know. But it's not one that people will readily remember. Or
Hallelujah.
Thank you. Scott.
I was
know
just
your
thinking
cues.
I was thinking that we should have another category that's just like good.
I've said before, like meh.
Yeah.
It's like a meh. It's mid.
Yeah.
I don't totally know what that word means,
It doesn't have
but I
hit.
like kind of do.
Riz.
And then I said it to, it doesn't have Riz. Yes, let's keep going. I said something that my daughter did the other day was mid, and she was wildly offended. And so I was like, oh, I think that's a stronger word than I thought it was. I don't know. Anyway.
Did we switch languages?
Or was she just Hebrew?
I thought you spoke Spanish.
That's not Spanish.
You don't know what mid is? Mid is like mid, like it's just okay.
Are you sure?
Or so we thought.
Yes, I asked for an explanation afterwards.
Was she offended that you said something was mid, or is she offended that you
That
were
I
using
implied
that terminology?
That I implied she was mid.
Oh, like
yes,
her human essence was mid.
not like in total. It was something she said or some action that we were talking about.
Got it.
I was like, you're just mid, and she was like, oh. I was like, what? I don't. I'm sorry. Anyway, said that's cap. Anyway, our second reading, two minutes. It's only 2 minutes. The second reading comes from 1 Corinthians, chapter. Sorry, Mrs. Dufresne, for all this. Chapter 9. She's asleep.
Not yet. I haven't started talking.
No, you did earlier. 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Paul says, listen, preaching is my passion. This is what I'm here to do. I love this, but it's not for personal gain. I'm here to be all things for all people, but only if that is only with the purpose of spreading the message, spreading the gospel, sharing this word that, and then he talks about himself as this universal translator. Like he's the one who can figure all this out. He's here to take it. I think that's why they call him. Well, I was going to make the joke that you always make, Scott, about like the random middle name, like Scott Hollywood Williams or, whatever. That's why they call me whatever.
Oh yeah.
But I was like,
I didn't Safety Williams.
Yes, but I didn't.
Safety is second, not first. See?
Yes.
But I didn't. I was like, I don't know what Paul's last name is. It's like, we don't know those things. So I decided it's Johnson. So I said like, he's a universal translator, like Paul Rosetta Stone Johnson. Anyway, there was a lot of setup for a real bad joke, but here we go.
PJ.
Gospel. Our gospel comes from Mark chapter 1, 29-39.
We'll just edit that joke out.
I bet we won't. On leaving the synagogue, Jesus entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Simon's mother-in-law lay sick with a fever. They immediately told him about her. He approached, grasped her hand, and helped her up. Then the fever left her, and she waited on them. When it was evening after sunset, they brought to him all who were ill or possessed by demons. The whole town was gathered by the door. He cured many who were sick with various diseases. He drove out many demons, not permitting them to speak because they knew him. Rising very early before dawn, he left and went off to a deserted place. where he prayed. Simon and those who were with him pursued him, and on finding him said, "Everyone is looking for you." He told them, let us go. Sorry, I just got distracted, and I'll explain it later. He told them, "Let us go on to the nearby villages, that I may preach there also. For this purpose have I come." So he went into their synagogues, preaching and driving out demons throughout the whole of Galilee. Sorry, I just realized in that there was a Simon Says joke right in that gospel. He said, Simon said, everyone is looking for you. I just thought it was funny. Anyway, and then I got distracted.
That did not occur to me in all of my preparation.
They didn't teach that at seminary?
I'm sure somebody made the joke at some point.
All right.
There's so many bad jokes in seminary.
Bad joke day.
It was not limited to a day, trust me.
Well, what are you preaching on this weekend?
Do I get to say if Jeff got anything wrong?
Oh,
Yes. I was going to say I didn't hear anything.
Well, I wanted two things.
Oh,
but I have no authority.
This is
here.
exciting, though.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry that
This is your favorite part of the podcast.
I know, but you nailed it, Jeff.
This is the first time I've been like, "Ooh, I want to come
Heresy.
back to that."
Let's go.
No heresy. Just
Wait, go ahead and say it, Scott.
What?
Did Jeff get anything wrong?
Did Jeff get anything wrong?
Well, I'm gonna go with yes.
Yes.
So Job being a hippie, I think we just need to.
Man, we're just all blown in the wind, man.
Yeah.
Dude.
Just maybe read Job a little bit different.
What's the voice you would use?
Job.
So Job was not a hippie. But second thing, I think it's entertaining to think about what St. Paul's last name is. But the first thing that came to my mind was of Tarsus is his last name.
That's a good point.
So it's like Saul of Tarsus.
Mm.
It's like
Paul Rosetta Stone of Tarsus.
Yeah. Maybe Johnson worked better for the nickname. But anyway,
I don't think anything worked better for that.
those were two playful corrections.
Thank you. Enjoy your playful corrections.
Yeah. What are you preaching on this weekend?
Well, this is a weekend. I think I may have recorded a podcast on these readings before.
Are we getting into a 3-year cycle of repeated guests?
Well, I think this is just a by chance repeating on this day because this feels like very deja vu as far as reading Job and being like, boy, that's kind of a downer. And I was talking to another priest.
We just read Job. Job's out there.
I was talking to another priest about the readings Sunday night, I think. And we both looked at the readings. We were like, ouch. Like, what are we supposed to do with this? And that happens. Like, I don't want to scandalize people, but sometimes you look at the readings, you're just like, I don't know what I'm going to say. And
I don't think we've done these readings before.
No.
Sorry. I mean, we've probably done similar ones, right? Like, there's a lot of themes that roll through. I'm just sorry. I was just stuck in I was just trying to think. We started like right around Easter 2020, which would have been just past this cycle. So,
well, I mean, I can guarantee I'm not going to say the same thing I would have said last time because
go ahead. Sorry,
I don't remember what it was.
That's all right.
But what occurred to me
correction
as I sat with the readings and really prayed with them, there was this thread. Like, first of all, the psalm got my attention. I know it's not a banger that like there's a melody that comes to mind, right? But this psalm is really what got my attention first. Usually it's like the gospel. I'm just like, that's what I'm preaching on. But in these readings, it was the psalm because this, we have all been before or are now in some way, like we've experienced what being brokenhearted is like, right? And what is the thing that you look for when you're brokenhearted is like, what's going to make this better, right? Like, what's going to heal this pain? And really what Job is all about is
just peace and love, man.
What Job is all about is our experience of evil. Like, that's what the book of Job is. And really there are two options when you confront the reality of evil in the world. You can say this, like, these circumstances are essentially meaningless, right? They happen by chance. Like good things happen to good people by chance, bad things happen to good people by chance, and it's all just random. And that eventually leads you to life is meaningless, right? That eventually leads you to life sucks, then you die, right? And there's another option though, which is providence, right? That there is meaning even in suffering. And that trusting belief that God is directing, he's not sending us our suffering as punishment or just arbitrarily, but that God can truly work all things for the good. And that there can be meaning in suffering. And of course, like it's kind of hard to miss which one of those is the Christian perspective because, the cross, right? It's like the ultimate suffering, and yet the ultimate good, right? And so the psalm just kind of got my attention. It's right there with Job, and you read it and you're like, gosh, this is a bummer. And then you go to the psalm and, oh, the Lord can heal that, right? The Lord can heal the brokenhearted. And so that got me thinking, that got me curious and a little more excited to preach. I wasn't thinking like, man, I wish I had a deacon to just like give these, like I was like, no, I would like the Lord wants to say something about this weekend. And, the gospel, I've been recently, when I came back from retreat, I started doing more Lectio Divina. That hasn't been my go-to like meditative practice, but I started doing it again, and I started with the Gospel of Mark. And what I've noticed is just the prevalence of Jesus's healing ministry. It's like he's healing the sick, he's casting out demons. He's healing the sick, he's casting out demons. And what does that do? Everybody comes to him, right? Why? Because everyone experiences brokenness in some way, and our deepest desire is to be healed. And when we see someplace we can get that healing, like this is why things become popular, right? It's like, well, this healed me. And I mean, if you want people to spread the word about something, like let them have an experience of being healed or getting better, or, this diet made me feel like this, right? Or this workout fixed this knee issue that I had for years, or right? So we do that, and Jesus is healing. So we need to get to Jesus if we're experiencing suffering, and if we want the Lord who heals the brokenhearted to heal our broken hearts, like we need to get to Jesus. Well, where do the disciples find him?
Cold plunge.
Wait,
I haven't been brave enough to do the cold plunge yet.
I was gonna say, as you said that, like it was very striking. I have a friend who like my wife and I will joke sometimes about like whatever is the thing she's doing or has done and had a good experience is the greatest thing anyone's ever done. And everyone needs to do that thing. And like she had her gallbladder out. It was like, everyone should go get their gallbladder out. This is amazing. It was life-changing for me. It was
kind of attached to my gallbladder.
Yeah. But
I told you,
but
bad jokes all the time.
But there is something to be said about like, if like your goal is for other people to like experience good and experience joy and have like, if you had a really great experience and you want to share that, yeah. So like, I don't know. I guess you find that though in spiritual experiences people have, right? Like when you were talking healing, I was thinking like Lourdes and things like that, right? But like millions of people are drawn there because people were healed there, right? And there's that thing. Or I even just think like the mountaintop experiences that people have of like a retreat or a spiritual, like, oh my gosh, you should go do, because they had an encounter. They had a conversion of heart, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say like every retreat or every experience like has a formula, and part of that formula is reconciliation and healing. It's like it is beauty, draw people in, like go deeper, invitation, reconciliation, big piece of that, and then sending forth. Like you can't be sent forth unless you've been healed, and we've all been broken in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I think so. All of this stuff was kind of circulating in my mind, and I'm just thinking about the ways that I've experienced the Lord's healing. And I just came off retreat, which was like 5 days of more silence than I usually get on a retreat, which was a huge blessing. And as I looked at the gospel again, what got my attention is what Jesus does, right? So Jesus, he's preaching, he's healing people, he's casting out demons in the synagogue, and then we hear this gospel where, people are gathered around at Simon's house after Jesus heals his mother-in-law. This is at after sundown on Saturday, which is the Sabbath, right? And people are just gathered around so much so they can't even like stand by the door and look in anymore. The whole town, it says. And so all those people are drawn there looking for healing. And then what does Jesus do? Early in the morning, before dawn, Jesus wakes up and he goes to a deserted place. And of course, we know, St. Mark doesn't need to tell us. We know that what is he doing in this deserted place? Well, he said he went to pray.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have an intimate encounter with his heavenly Father, right? Jesus in his human soul, enjoys the vision of the heavenly Father at every moment of his life, but he takes these particular moments to go off and be with the Father, right? So and that's where the disciples find him, right? And so as we're thinking about us, we all have broken hearts or have had our hearts broken in some way. We need healing for that. We need to go to Jesus for that. And we can't go to Capernaum and go to this house where Jesus is sitting in,
mm-hmm.
right? So where are we going to have this encounter with Jesus that heals us? And ultimately it's in prayer. It's like going to that deserted place and seeking that encounter with Jesus. Obviously, I'm a big proponent of Eucharistic adoration, and I start every day in front of the Blessed Sacrament as early as I can, and as early as I can right now. I could probably get up earlier, but anyway, Eucharistic adoration is that place for some people. For some people, it's have a little place set aside in your home to have silent prayer, but this is really the kick that I'm on this Lent, is like prayer is the most important thing. And why? Because it's where we have this healing encounter with the Lord.
Because Jesus heals the brokenhearted.
Yes, because the Lord heals the brokenhearted.
Yeah.
That's what he does. That's what he's about. And
what if somebody shows up and doesn't feel like it's working?
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Like, that doesn't mean we're going to feel something,
mm-hmm.
right? I imagine when Simon went and he said, everybody's looking for you, what he was expecting is, oh, well, I better get back to Capernaum to go see what everybody wants. But what he got was, oh, let's go to these other towns. Like, let's not go back to the crowd. Let's not go back to let's keep going on, right? So he probably felt confused. Like maybe he was like wondering what's the plan here. Like there are people who want you. Why are we going away from them? Right. So it's not necessarily that you're going to have.
He didn't do what Simon said.
It's not. You're not necessarily going to go to prayer and have these feelings that Jesus is intimately connecting with you or healing you. And that's why we walk by faith and not by sight. Right. And it's going to prayer, first of all, requires a trust. It requires that perspective of providence, that trust that we are loved, and that the Lord heals the brokenhearted. It's like, I trust you're going to do this in the way that I need it to be done, in the way that, like, he loves us more than anybody could ever love us in our entire life, right? And he knows us better than anyone else could ever know us. And so the healing that he wants to work in our lives will be tailored to us in the most personal and the best and most loving way we can receive it.
This gospel reading struck me as like one of those moments where you can really see some of the humanity of Jesus, because like he does go off and pray alone, but like in my brain, like some of that is just to like, he had like, this is just right. Like he heals Simon's mother-in-law, and then they're like, well, let's bring him everyone that needs healed. Right. Like, and of course, like, and there's a reality that Jesus could have spent his entire ministry just healing. Like he could have probably sat in one spot and the world would have come to him to be healed, and he could have done that. But like you said, in that moment, he was like, yeah, but let's go to these other towns, because the more people know about this, the more that healing can exist in the world, right? Like the more, like this healing isn't just from me. This is from my Father. It's from, so we need to let others know that. I don't know. I also just imagine like he was off and praying, and like the apostles or disciples all show up, and they're like, Jesus, more people need. And he's like, can I just
Get a minute.
can I? Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because
Which I'm sure he wasn't. I'm sure he loved that they were there, and like, because he was perfect, but like, I'm not. So I hear that and I'm like, man, he was probably having a really nice moment.
well, it's like everything flows from his relationship with the Father, right? Like and so the other way to look at this is sometimes we can just go to prayer for what we want. It's like, oh, I want healing, I'm going to go pray, and then when we don't get it, we stop, right? And I've worked with, and I've been that person before too. And the other reason prayer is so important is that we are called to be another Christ. Like the Christian, the baptized person, is another Christ in a way that's different and distinct from the way like a priest is another Christ, but you're another Christ as a baptized person. And this is what Christ did. Like he's showing us the example of, yes, tirelessly serving the poor, the needy, the sick, the brokenhearted, like giving yourself, teaching. He's doing all of these things, fighting evil, but he's also taking time to be alone, right, with the Father.
Right.
And so we're called to imitate that. Like you can't give what you don't have. So if you don't have an encounter with Christ, you can't lead other people to that. And that's why like prayer, yeah, it's very strange, but where I'm kind of coming into Lent almost this year, and just like, you know what, the fasting, like do the bare minimum that church law requires. If you don't already pray, like if you don't already do silent prayer for 10 minutes a day, just do what the law requires. Don't even give up like chocolate or something. Like just focus on, by the end of this Lent, I'm going to have a habit of praying 10 minutes every day.
I like
because
that.
it's so foundational.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Father Meyer always advocates for 15 minutes a day is 1% of your day. Like 14 minutes is 1%, but he's like, he one time said, just do 15 minutes because you're not a psychopath. And like, but I think there's something to be said there of like, creating the habit. Like it is. It matters.
I mean, I would advocate for 15 minutes. For some people, like it just 5 or 10 is a great start. And I mean, if we want to talk about what you're aiming for, it's definitely be more than 10 minutes. But like 10 minutes with Jesus is better than 0 minutes with Jesus.
For sure.
I once heard somebody talk about a great way to start like going to the gym is drive to the gym for like a week. Don't even go in, just drive there at the same time, at the time that you like start training yourself that like, okay, it's not that bad. I'm going to get here. I'm going to do like, it's not that far out of my way. I'm going to get here. And then like start by going in, and like maybe you spend 10 minutes, but you just go in and you do it until you build that habit. And I think there's something to be said there in prayer too, right? Like just build the habit. Like if you start with just saying in Our Father at the same time every day, right? Like
set the alarm earlier, right? Like, yeah. And I do think that part of his example is getting up early before dawn and go, like, just there are certain times of our day, no matter what our vocation is, that we're less likely to be disrupted. And for most people, that's like, it's just going to work better if you pray first thing in the morning. And it's like giving 1% of your day, it's like giving the first fruits, right, to God. So St. Francis de Sales says that our prayer life should be tailored to our vocation, and it should look different for a priest or a religious than it does look for a father or mother of a family.
Right.
But I definitely would say if people are having a hard time praying consistently, like try to do it first thing in the morning.
I like it. All right.
So
you ready for some dumb questions?
Oh, I am. They get progressively dumber today.
Good.
Yeah. Like
they're sweating.
You were sharing about your retreat. You were sharing with me before we got up here, but I want you to talk about where you go on retreat, because it sounds like a really awesome place, and I know you feel very strongly about it. So
where do you go on retreat?
So I go to Christ the Bridegroom Monastery, east of Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh,
So they are the nuns at Christ the Bridegroom are Byzantine Catholic nuns. So
didn't know that was a thing.
yeah, yeah. So there are Eastern churches that are in communion with Rome,
Hmm.
and so they are a part of the one of the Eastern churches that's in communion with Rome here in the U.S. And there's a large kind of concentration of Byzantine Catholics around the Cleveland area, and so it's where their monastery is, and they have just a really beautiful vocation. Like I love Eastern liturgy, and so it's great to be able to go there and pray the liturgy of the hours with them and can celebrate at the divine liturgy, which is really cool. But also just the nuns themselves, like one of their they don't really use the word charisms in the East, but that's probably the word that we would be most familiar with in the West. But one of their like particular gifts that they give to the church is they're called pustineas, little hermitages where you can go on retreat. And they definitely have a heart for giving priests a place where you can go away. You know, Bethany for Jesus, Bethany with like Martha, Mary, Lazarus was where he had his little getaway where he would be there with his friends, and that's really what Christ the Bridegroom is for me as a priest. It's a huge blessing. So
That's cool.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the nuns are awesome.
There's a Byzantine church in Indianapolis.
Saint Athanasius.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
Cool.
When you're on retreat, you talked about, like, you don't have to dive into all the details. You talked about your prayer, but like, do you also like you get to I wrote retreat yourself. Remember, retreat yourself. Like
We actually used to use that phrase in seminary. Retreat yourself.
Retreat yourself.
Yeah.
I'm funny.
That's good.
Thank you. Yeah, put your mic down so people can hear you laugh.
I'm trying not to drink in the microphone.
I guess my question is like, so do you sleep in? Do you like take naps? Do you like, I mean, do you like, I know a couple weekends ago, it wasn't a retreat, but I like did a guys weekend with some friends and stuff. It was one of the cool things about it is like all these guys now are like, we've got kids and all this stuff. And it was a very, like, we had no plans. Like it was no, like we just hung out, people play cards. And like at one point, one of the guys was like, I think I'm going to take a nap. And everyone was like, hey man, good for you. Like that sounds like at a younger age, you would not dare take a nap, right? With a bunch of guys around because somebody messed with you. But everyone was just like so supportive. And he was like, and he got up and he was like, man, I don't remember the last time I just slept like that during a day. But anyway, I was just thinking, like, I don't know, you're a priest, so you probably nap every day, but
not on Sundays.
That's the caveat you throw out there. No, I'm wondering, like, what are things that you do, like, beyond like the prayer and retreats, that like to just like, you know, treat yourself when you're on these retreats?
Yeah, I mean, this was a very different retreat. I would say typically for retreat, I try to have a very concrete and really set schedule. I do try to get outside and like walk, especially because I take my retreat in January. There's usually snow, which I love. So try to get outside, walk or hike, like if I can get someplace to hike. Typically a nap is a part of retreat. But generally I try to get up at my normal time and pray early in the morning. And but this year was very different. Like it was I ended up sleeping in, which very much needed to do, and it was a very humbling experience. So like I went in with my idea of what it was going to be like, and Jesus just totally wrecked it, which was I'm very grateful for that. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish Jesus would wreck my schedule more. Well, he does. Anyway. What? Okay, just totally changing the subject. What's your favorite food?
Probably pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, pizza was the one way I treated myself on retreat. Like I hadn't been outside from Sunday night until Thursday afternoon. I went to this local parish for adoration for a couple hours on Thursday, and then I left. And I was like, there's this place that's supposed to have good pizza. And I went and got some.
When you're on retreat and you go to a local parish in adoration, do you wear your cassock or do you just go incognito?
And it depends. It depends on a lot of things. This particular time I was not wearing my cassock, but a lady actually, she was like, I could tell from 1,000 miles away that you were a priest. I was like, I mean, maybe being at adoration at 3 p.m. on a weekday is a giveaway, but
when you brought your own incense, or
she like talked to me afterwards, and she said, I just kind of said, making small talk, and
You're sitting in the back shaking
She
people's
said-
hands on the way out.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, thanks for coming.
she said her name, and then I was like, oh, now I've got to decide. Like, and she said, and you are? I was like, I'm Father Dufresne. She was like, I knew it. She was like, the Holy Spirit told me. I was like, why'd you tell him?
Why'd you tell on me?
But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
no,
that's what, and
pizza
then
is
you
my
had a
favorite food.
and then you had a 40-minute conversation.
No, actually, yeah. She invited me to another parish event, but yeah, she was very kind. Probably prayed for me. That's probably why my retreat was so full of
Good.
grace.
And then you had pizza.
And then I had pizza. Yeah.
Nice. Just
What's
all
the
by
best
yourself.
pizza place in Indy?
Your
Depends on
favorite.
what you're looking for.
What's your favorite?
So my
Your
favorite,
favorite.
my favorite, so there's different pizzas.
Your favorite.
There's a time for every pizza under the
I
sun.
Today.
very much agree with you. I'm not going to fight you on this. I very much
My favorite is Goodfellas, 22-inch extra
Yeah.
large cheese pizza, just cheese. You got to go at a time when they're not that busy because the deck of the oven is hotter, so you
Is that
get
the
a
one that has
better.
like the speakeasy in the back?
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never eaten pizza there.
You
Oh,
wanna go?
man,
Yeah.
Let's go right now. I'm hungry.
Okay.
we can go after this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, there are different. Like, there's a Friday pizza. There's like a Sunday afternoon
It's
pizza.
meatless.
Yeah.
Cheese.
Uh,
Or cheese pizza.
It's Friday pizza has a shrimp base.
And the
I'm just kidding.
Futuro pizza.
Churro. Oh,
Have you had their
Yeah.
pizza? The
the
Detroit
thin or the Detroit
style?
style? Yeah,
I like the tavern
Mhm.
cheese, but the Detroit style
yeah.
is the go-to for Friday because it's like the thick sourdough crust
Mm.
with those breadsticks. The thing about the breadsticks is even a few days later, you pop them in the toaster oven and they crisp up. It's like they're new.
Where's that at?
That's
Churro? Oh,
right
here
off
East Side.
of Washington
Yeah.
and 65,
Okay.
right there by that Hardee's but back behind where Angie's List used to be.
Got it.
It's very
Sorry, none of these are sponsors.
no free ads.
That's right.
This is all.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I love Fat Kid.
So
now.
many
This is
people are-
perfect.
Rating these pizza places right now.
Yeah. Go. Yeah. If you go visit, tell them that All Set for Sunday sent you,
Yeah.
and just watch them be really confused. But it'll be, and please record it and send it to us. That'd
Yeah.
be very.
Let them know that we said you can have 10% off.
Yeah, 10% off the All Set for Sunday deal.
Then tell them Father Dufresne sent you.
Yeah.
They won't be confused anymore.
Yes.
They know you.
Yes, probably.
All right. You have an associate pastor now.
I do.
Hey,
When
congrats.
Yeah.
Thanks.
as this was part of the since July. Come on, man.
I didn't know.
Wow.
He never told me. Didn't tell me anything.
I have an associate pastor.
I read the criterion after announcements came out, so that's why I knew. But my question is, when you talked about like brushing off your homily on the deacon, which was a funny joke, but that just made me think, when you're preaching on a weekend and your associate is also preaching and you're preaching at the same parish as me, do you like collaborate on a theme? Is there any value in like collaborating on a theme or of your homily, or is it like, no, dealer's choice? You just go, you figure out what you want to preach on, and you go.
Yeah, we tend to work out our homilies separately. I'm trying to think of a time when I was an associate that we would have worked on a theme, but the way we currently have our rotation set up is that it's based on language. So
See,
if I'm preaching in Spanish, Father Oscar's preaching in English, and vice versa. And so I actually find that helpful. One, because you only have to prepare one homily.
yeah, that's really nice for you.
But two, both communities are very culturally distinct. And so it's really, there can be a theme, but there are different images or different examples or different nuances that you would put on the homily based on the culture that you're preaching to. So we tend to work out our homilies separately.
I don't know if it was like this when you were at St. Luke, but at St. Luke, basically one priest preaches and goes to all the masses.
Yeah.
He just like shows up for the homily time.
I've seen the same happen at St. Bartholomew. Used to do that.
That
Threw me off the first time I ever saw it happen. It was like, I was watching Mass be celebrated, and then like,
I actually really like it though, because then like everybody gets the same message that weekend.
Yeah.
That was a big model like 10, 15 years ago. By the time I got ordained, that had kind of been phased out in a lot of places. But yeah, I think there's value to getting the same message. The tough part is, for our two parishes, you physically couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because of two different campuses. But it's also like, even at St. Monica's, we had 7 masses.
Right.
Like to preach the same homily 7 times I never had to do that, but
yeah, that harkens.
But
Like,
if you only had to do it like every third Sunday, would that be different?
No.
I was gonna say when I was teaching, like there were semesters where I would teach like 6 courses, and it's the same course 6 times. It was always interesting to like, even just like mentally, I could keep track of like when I taught at 8th period, it was like 15 minutes shorter than when I taught at 1st period, right? And I never knew, like, were they just getting a more condensed and like better version, or were they just getting less because I was just tired and I was confused in my own mind of what I covered and what I
yeah.
And then I stopped teaching. So you and I recently were talking, we were hanging out together, and because Father came to watch some dynamic girls high school basketball.
Yeah, I remember you told me.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
It was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. But it sparked a conversation that we've been having with some of our priests. But like, you talked about like the intentionality you put into your homily prep. We share. You've answered this question for me, but like, what you told me, I was kind of blown away by how much time you spend in a week preparing for your homily.
Yeah. So I want to be clear before any of the. I know it's like only priests that listen to this podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
No, many of the other answers we've been getting have been similar.
Yeah.
It just was not. It's something I never really had dug in on.
Well, I don't know if I told you this. I recently had a conversion on this, but I think it's gone to in a normal week, I'm probably spending like 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
Which is probably about right, I think.
Yeah. And you mentioned to me then that you've been writing out your homily word for word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I think is fascinating, but I appreciated like the intentionality you're putting into that and making sure that those words are, and again, it was funny. I give him a lot of crap and stuff, but we asked Father Tim, who he's a very good preacher, and I know he's a very good preacher, but it kind of blew me away because he was like, yeah, by the time I sit down and I plan this out and I map it out and then I rehearse and go through it, I probably spend 6 to 8 hours, and it kind of just took me back because I don't know, it was the same when you said it. Like, I think many of our, so many good preachers who I hear, they're brilliant. And I guess I just think like that comes naturally, or like I just put this together and I have this idea and I throw it down. But I realized I don't know, it made me appreciate very much like the intentionality that goes into it rather than like me writing a paper in college where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and knock this thing out.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You actually care what people hear, and
well,
that's a good thing.
So I think
double spaces.
Yeah.
Change the font 0.5.
Can I use Courier New? I'll get some.
Make the
few more
periods
lines.
Yep.
Yeah.
14-point periods instead of 12.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, the conversion I had was my preaching was just not where I wanted it to be quality wise. Like I was just consistently coming out of the weekend like could have done better. And there was one weekend I listened to a couple homilies, but one was by obviously these are people reading them later, but St. Alphonsus Liguori, and the other one was by St. John Vianney. And one brilliant doctor of the church
to hold yourself to.
One brilliant doctor of the church, one incredibly holy priest, but not known for his academic prowess, right? And they were both just so cogent and clear and inspiring.
What does cogent?
Yeah, what does cogent mean?
It's like clear, like
okay,
like coherent.
What an ironic word to use for clear.
Now I just hope it's that. I'm like,
I just love that people watching on YouTube just watch Scott and I both raise our hands. We're just like,
who do I call on first? But no, so I was just edified by that, and I've started seeing the homily less as I think there was a little bit of that mentality from paper writing left over, which is like, gosh, I need to finish this thing that I've got to say. And it's transitioned to like, this is an act of love for the people that are hearing it. And that demands much more time.
Awesome.
How about letters to the parish in the bulletin?
Did we talk
Yeah.
about that? Gosh, the bulletin letter, it is so good for me. I don't know if anybody reads it, but it has definitely made me a little holier and a little more industrious. That's for sure. Like,
But I thought it was really funny. We shared it before, but when you mentioned you're like, yeah, you can tell when Father's really struggling because he's just like, here's a great quote from St. Alphonsus Liguori. And I was like, I actually read a quote from Alphonsus Liguori in a bulletin recently. That's really
Oh, that's good.
it's like, how long can I make the quote? Yeah.
all right.
Father, do you think
Oh, I had
Father
a super dumb
Dufresne.
question, but do we need to wrap it up?
We've got time for one short dumb question, but we do need to wrap it up.
It's real dumb. I saw this on Twitter the other day and I just thought it was really funny. Do you think Jesus is without sin, is perfection?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think Mary had to potty train Jesus? Or you think he just figured that out?
Well, we do read in scripture that Jesus grew in wisdom and virtue before men, right? So there is some like human development that happens even though he is fully God. He's also fully human. So it's possible. I don't know what I think about it. I've never thought about that question before in my life.
I think about it in the sense of like someone taught Jesus how to walk. Like somebody taught, like Jesus learned how to become a carpenter from Saint Joseph.
Well,
like there's things that like the human element of Jesus, whether I mean, he was perfect without sin, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't human development that came along with the humanity that is fully Jesus.
This is part of the humility of the incarnation, right?
This conversation's gotten way more serious than I expected it to.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Did Jesus laugh? That's one of my other favorite
Definitely.
He was hilarious.
He was hilarious. Other people laughed, but
I've seen a picture of him laughing. All right, that's all the time we got. Father Dufresne, thank you so much for joining us.
I gotta get out of here. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Bye.